Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. It's about 7:50 a.m. here on the U.S. East Coast. Prices of BTC currently at $9,490. And let's get to your morning Bitcoin analysis. All right, folks, if you haven't seen my past few videos, I've made this chart for you guys to follow on with my updates that I've been putting out on TradingView. If you go to Cryptosomniac, search on TradingView, you can see this chart right here that was put up July 25th. So I think about 2 or 3 days ago. And it talks about Bitcoin analysis that will save your account. Okay, levels to watch. And in this, I've sort of explained my thought process on exactly what's going on, levels to look at, maybe potential price pops that you may want to, take advantage of. And everything is sort of communicated in a well-organized way to my Advantage members here. Okay, these are our channels right here, open positions. We have announcements for our Advantage members, short-term calls, medium-term trade setups. This was one of the trade setups that I put out yesterday, which was just right here where I talked about, I was mobile yesterday, but I talked about this chart right here, okay? Let me pull that up, all right? So let's go to that chart, okay? This is exactly what I was seeing, all right? I was seeing this large symmetrical triangle in the black playing out, and within that, a smaller falling wedge. So both of them were ultimately tightening the price, except this one, the white falling wedge, was at least tightening price in a positive manner, like this, okay? Like that, this points, fifth one right there, and push out. Okay, so what really happened there was once you have a tightening in price action and falling wedges, you typically see volume declining in this wedge, and then you see a slight pop out of the wedge with some decent sized volume. Okay, but what I showed you earlier is, all right, so there's first touch right there, second touch right there, all right, third touch, fourth touch. Fifth touch is usually this, up move, slight pullback, and then a big pop to the upside. All right, it's very typical of falling wedges. Okay, now if we check out the volume on this thing, actually volume doesn't work on BitMEX, but if we go on Kraken, let's see. I bet you the volume sort of faded down here, and then it picked up just yesterday. Okay. So let's see. So volume from here, I think from here on down, dropped, right there, tightened right there. See, this is where you see the pullback of that last little bit of the falling wedge, right? This one right here. See how volume really decreased and then pop in the volume, right? Right there. So that's exactly what we were seeing and hoping to happen, and that's exactly what happened. And for that, our target was going to be right around this, $10,200 marker. Again, don't pay attention to this green marker. These are not exact dollars. I am unable to predict exact dollars. I don't have that kind of crystal ball. It's really hard to predict like that. Typically, I do zones. So my zone was anywhere between $10,200 and $10,300. So we took a nice profit on this yesterday, and I mentioned to my community I was in a long trade, and that was easy, right? Just like that, okay? You don't have to take big risky trades. You don't have to aim for the moon. I'll also explain to you the technicals behind why we went for this trade and where we set that target as, right? So if we start going on the 4-hour chart, okay, I'm going to turn on this 50 and 200, and I'm going to turn on these pivots. Now remember, pivots and resistance levels right here, these are all based on previous support and resistance levels, all right? So all these R1s, R2, R3s, and the Ps taken into account is prior history of price touching certain levels and bouncing off of it. Okay, and then it creates basically these tables, right? These little markers all over the chart. You can zoom in, zoom out, and then it understands and grasps what has happened in previous history and price action to give us potentially a future understanding of where price could potentially bounce off of. So one idea that it gave us is The pivot told us that around this area is still a decent amount of resistance on the way up, okay? And I knew for the most part that this yellow marker, or I'm sorry, the yellow moving average is the 50 EMA, the red is the 200 EMA, okay? I knew for the most part that at some point we're gonna hit that and get rejected. So this is why I stated my target just under that pivot, as well as just above that 50 moving average. And we took profit, walked away from the trade, and that was it, right? Pretty easy, okay? So if you did not get into that trade and you actually got in at the top and now you're stuck in a position that's bleeding now, really ask yourself, what are you doing in this market? Why do you keep making mistakes? Why do you keep bleeding capital? If you don't know, that the answers are, in my opinion, in our community, cryptosomniac.com. Okay, shit, the website doesn't work. So that was a bad example. But if you just if you join the Discord link that I'm about to send you at the bottom of this video, you can actually click on that, and you'll be available in our free lounge. You can use all our free resources to use, which is community discussion, some forex chat, some stock market chat, but you won't get these locked channels, all the locks that you see right here. All right, all the locks that you see are for our Advantage members, and you can see we have a lot of locked channels. Okay, all right, so with that being said, now price has actually gotten rejected right at that 50 moving average, 50 EMA on the 4-hour, and fallen a bit further than these higher low structures that I was seeing. All right, so here are the higher low structures right here. I'm gonna take away this pivot. All right, so now we are again falling down a bit further. Okay, so we've taken out these purple higher low structures, and we've now negated this higher low and also this higher low. So next point, I would say more than likely price is going to head towards is $9,100. Okay, more than likely it will probably go towards that. So if you are looking for a short position, you could either wait for a retrace like this in price, let it come back, hit this level around $9,700, and then let it fall again, or you can open up a short position right here at 9,500. Your stop's going to have to be a bit deeper though. Okay, your stop's going to have to be at least at the very least it'll have to be like 9,800, 9,850, or it'll have to be way up here around 10,250 or something, right around here. Okay, so however you want to do that. Again, not investment advice. I'm just telling you what options you have, okay? Because there's always options in this market, right? You can always make a trade. You can always win money, or you can always lose money. One thing that we sort of tell our community is just because this market is open 24/7 doesn't mean you need to trade it all the time. It also doesn't mean that you need to be in a trade all the time. 90% of the time, you just need to wait for the market to give you good setups, and then 10% of the time you execute and you make some good trades. But oftentimes people lose money because they're executing 90% of the time and barely waiting 10% of the time. Okay, so you can see why that hurts and hinders their progress, right? So anyway, try to understand and learn what are the things that you're doing wrong in trading, what are the things wrong in your mentality in trading, and learn from it. Okay, again, we try to teach that stuff as much as we can in our community, right? So these are all our community members, always asking questions, learning, being patient. I don't know, I think it's a wonderful place to be able to discuss ideas and also not FOMO, right? So that's one thing that we're big on in our community, is something just as simple as being patient, okay? And if you don't have that kind of attitude, we can help you build that. We can help you foster that, all right? Anyway, enough tooting the horn about the Discord, our community. So I had this wave count drawn up, all right? This 1, 2, this is a deep 2, because if we go from this low right here, right? So this fib right here to this high, which was the local high, right? That's about about 9,100 to about 11,200. You could see that we had previously bounced off the 786 fib right here, but we barely escaped above. I think we barely escaped above the 50 right there. You can see, right? So we made it past the 618 briefly, but we did not make it past the 50. And now we're again hammering on that 786 fib, which is around 95.80. And like I said, more than likely, if this thing breaks, it will probably go to 9100, and it almost already seems like it's going to break, because especially in the 1 hour, there's a significantly high volume that came into this candle right here, much higher than what we've seen all through the last 10-15 days. I mean, maybe this one right here, I guess. So I guess in the last 10 days we haven't seen this kind of sell volume. So it looks like the bears are continuing to hammer the price as much as they can. I don't know if the bleeding is going to stop just yet, if this keeps on breaking, because in my opinion, if 9,100 gets tapped again, more than likely it will break, because honestly, this pop right here, right, it was a good pop all the way to 11,200. But then it came back down again, pretty aggressively. And now it's looking to shatter this support right here and go back down to this area. So coming back down to that same support so fast, typically not a good sign, okay? You can make the argument about this one the same way, this yellow box, right? You can see that over here, price accelerated down, had a really sharp move up, right? And then again tapped this yellow box, but barely made another high, very lower high, and then boom, collapsed. Okay, same thing, just like resistance. Once you keep sort of hammering on a support, right? So if price keeps trending down and down, and it hits it once, pops again, and then again just comes down pretty fast towards it, typically not a good sign. Okay. All right, so with that being said, you now have an option to be able to short in this particular region towards that $9,100 target. I don't quite like the daily chart. Let's see. Let me see if this daily pops up here. Actually, let me delete this one. Okay, so here's the daily, right? This is something interesting about the daily as well, is that again, once we got rejected from this trend line, we haven't even made it quite close towards it. Oftentimes what I've seen is, you bounce off the trend line, break through, reject. If you're going to break through this all the way, what typically happens is you pull back a little bit and then you just rip on through. Okay, the fact that that didn't even happen tells me that, this was really enough for this to go like this and then pull down again. All right, so our next big supports, like I stated before, especially when we start looking on the weekly chart over here. Let me pull this out. All right, when we start looking on the weekly chart, our support was supposed to be $9,600. That did not happen. You can see right here, I told you in this analysis right here, okay, if we start breaking past 11,600 or 96 or below 9,600 on this right here, okay, so if we break above 11,600 on a weekly, that's a positive sign. That's an indication that you could potentially jump into this trade. If we break below 9,600 and close on the weekly, more than likely we're going towards about 8,500 at the very least. Well, actually like 8,700 at the very least, and at the very low, maybe 7,500 at the very least. Okay, so keep this range in mind. All right, because more than likely this is definitely going to happen. And again, the monthly and the big weekly pivot is right around this area, right about here, around $8,200. Let's see if it's still there. Actually, yeah, you can see it right there. See, blue pivot right there. So staying above this area on the weekly is going to be very critical, okay? About $8,100 or so. All right. Below that, I mean, I feel like if we break below that, it's not going to be good, because think the next S1 is probably much deeper. I can't even tell where it is on this chart. Probably around like 6,000s or something as far as I remember. And then on the daily, I've showed you this before. When we start throwing up these moving averages, right? EMAs 20 and 30. Let's see, maybe it's this one right here. I think it's a different chart. But anyway, the 21 and 30 EMAs are important, and then the 50 moving average is especially important. All right, so we're going to change this one to a 50. Okay. Here's that 50 daily. All right, you can see that price is currently below both the 21 and 30 EMAs as well as the 50 moving average. 50 actually has not been touched since the beginning of this entire run right here, way back here in February 2019. Right, so has not been touched at all, but now price is actually finally breaking through that. And that brings me to my next big critical moving average, which is the 100, which currently lies around the let's see, around $8,600 or so. Okay, so again, this kind of coordinates levels with the weekly chart just a little bit, maybe a couple $100 off here and there, but you could have a really sharp wick touching maybe 8,000 or something, and then closing above this 100 moving average, right, on the daily. Okay, so just an important level to keep in mind, folks. All right, let's see, there's another thing that I wanted to show. Oh yeah, the 21 EMA, which everyone talks about, and I'm sure you guys have heard, is a very important moving average because of the fact that it has been hugely supportive through the entire run in 2017 and 16 all the way here, right? All the way over here in 2015, 16, 17, all the way up. This is the 21 EMA on the weekly. It was then resistance in the 2018 bear market. So don't be surprised if price comes to meet this moving average in the next coming day or two. All right, especially maybe bouncing off this pivot right here. Okay, so definitely keep this in mind right here. Okay, this moving average 21 EMA. All right, but anyway, folks, I just wanted to keep it short and simple. You now have levels to watch. You could potentially short here. I personally would not long, especially if you wait on the daily chart. You should not be touching Bitcoin. If prices spike up like they did yesterday with this wick, right, you should not be touching Bitcoin, in my opinion, until price closes on a daily at least above 10,800, maybe 11,000. And if we start looking on the 4-hour, I definitely still would not touch it at the very least above 10,400 on consecutive 4-hour candles. Okay, so anyway, you have levels to watch. Read my analysis. Come join the Cryptosomniac community. I'll post a link for this trading view as well as our our Discord free lounge invite. All right, in the YouTube video below, YouTube link below. Okay, that's it, folks. You have some you have some things to look out for in terms of levels, and I hope you have a great rest of the weekend. All right, take care, cheers, and don't FOMO.